Blue Origin readies for maiden flight. In Europe, the exploration company achieved a major milestone on its space capsule. Australian Gilmore Space receives license to fly. SpaceX completes major tests for Starship flight test number 7. ESA gives go-ahead to compete with Starlink network from SpaceX. Ariane Group Themis rocket completes its assembly. SpaceOne failed for a second attempt to get to orbit. Stéphane Israël leaves Arianespace. Many rocket launches this week. I'm Christophe Paget from All About Space, and this is your Space Update. Blue Origin has now received his authorization to proceed with his wet dress rehearsal and static fire test of his New Glenn ahead of his maiden flight. They haven't yet achieved that milestone, but they are gearing for it. Founded in 2021, this European startup exploration company is developing a modular spacecraft called Nyx for cargo resupply missions to the ISS, with a future ambition to get crewed and cargo versions of his Nyx for lunar orbit and even moon landings. The exploration company has completed a critical milestone in the development of its space capsule subscale demonstrator named Mission Possible, successfully simulating the mission's launcher release phase, confirming that the onboard systems responded accordingly to ensure proper orientation for re-entry. It has also successfully completed its subsystems tests, namely the navigation algorithm and sensor behavior using an environment simulated by a car navigating around the streets of Munich. Whilst this demonstrator is supporting the development of Nyx, it is also carrying customer payloads to aid fund the development, with a planned flight in 2025 on board a Falcon 9 rocket. Gilmore Space has just received his license to fly his new rocket Iris into orbit by the Ministry for Industry and Science and the Australian Space Agency. Now, this license comes with a mandatory 30 days notification period to allow the agencies to be warned and put in place safety measures such as ocean keep-out zones. Gilmore will be launching his rocket from North Queensland at the Bowen Orbital Spaceport, which already received its spaceport license in April 2024. So we expect such a launch no earlier than the 15th of January 2025, which of course I will bring to you in this channel. So do subscribe so that you will not miss it, and it's free. SpaceX has formally requested for the starbase site to bear the status of a city. So perhaps soon to be at Starbase City, Starship number 33, the first version 2 Starship to go to orbit on flight test number 7, has conducted its static fire tests at Massey site. What is left is the stack-up of both Starship number 33 and booster 14 at the launch site and conduct a wet dress rehearsal prior to the flight test number 7 on or around the 11th of January 2025. At the production site, ship number 35, nose cone and payload sections have now been welded together and returned to the Star Factory. More barrel sections produced for booster 16, and at the launch site, the Tower number 1 launch mount is getting more repairs or upgrades. The tank farm has also received 2 horizontal and 2 vertical tanks, and they will soon run out of space if they continue bringing more tanks. The Tower number 2 was being worked on along with the launch mount, and the launch mount started to be fitted with water deluge systems plates to cool the top surface during takeoff and landing. The European Commission has requested ESA to manage the design, construction, launch and services of the new satellite constellation capable of providing resilient, interconnected and secure connectivity services for government authorities, businesses and citizens of EU member states. That is a big departure for Europe, where information in the 2020s required such a sovereignty. Now, ESA has now signed two major contracts valued at about 10.6 billion euros to kick off such a project called IRIS², standing for Infrastructure for Resilience, Interconnectivity and Security by Satellite. The network is expected to comprise about 300 European satellites in multi-orbits to offer user flexibility between low latency communication at LEO and wide coverage at MEO, and attempt to compete with Starlink of SpaceX and other emerging networks such as Kuiper from Amazon or OneWeb. The satellite technology shall be compatible with 5G standards to enable interoperability between satellites and mobile systems. The satellites will be launched on European rockets starting from 2029, and ESA has put together a team composed of SES, Eutelsat, and Hispasat to develop and manufacture as well as operate these satellites. The European Commission's Director General for Defense, Industry and Space, so that's Timo Perssonen, also said the Commission has delivered on the Union's imperative need for an autonomous and secure connectivity capability. IRIS² underpins our strategic autonomy and defense capability, promotes our competitiveness, and energizes public and private sectors' cooperation. I mentioned in a previous episode, linked on the top right corner of your screen, that Ariane Group was working on a reusable rocket under the ESA-funded project called Themis. Now, this first stage is more or less based on a Falcon 9 concept, 28 meter tall, with landing legs and reusable engines called Prometheus, running on liquid methane and oxygen. Now, the first stage was built in three parts: the flight control parts at the top, the reservoir section with the methane and oxygen tanks in the middle, and the lower section housing the landing legs, the systems, and the engine. Now, for this demonstrator, only one engine was necessary. The top and middle sections were already assembled months ago. However, these sections have now been mated to the lower section at the Ariane Group facility at Les Mureaux near Paris. Now, this was the final step to conclude the development phase of Themis. The demonstrator will then be transported to the Swedish Space Center at Esringer in north of Sweden, where a bespoke facility has been erected to test Themis' ability to take off and land vertically. SpaceOne is a young startup rocket company from Japan founded in 2018. SpaceOne operates Japan's first private spaceport in Wakayama Prefecture called Kii Spaceport. The rocket named Kairos is a fourth-stage rocket, 18 meter tall and just 1.35 meter in diameter, capable of launching 250 kilograms payloads to low Earth orbit and 150 kilograms to sun-synchronous orbit. It is of comparable sizes as the Electron of Rocket Lab and Ceres-1 of Galactic Energy. The first three stages are running on solid fuel, whilst the fourth stage is similar to a space tug running on liquid fuel. March 13, 2024, during Kairos' maiden flight, the vehicle triggered its automatic flight termination system at T plus 5 seconds, just a few hundred meters above the pad, due to lower vehicle thrusts and speed than intended. This week, Kairos took off from Kii Spaceport and ascended for about a minute, and was still under the thrust of its first stage when it started diverting from its trajectory. The rocket then tumbled for several minutes. What was strange is that on the first flight, the flight termination system triggered 5 seconds in the flight, whilst on the second flight, the rocket was turning uncontrollably for about 30 seconds at several kilometers in altitude without being destroyed. The rocket payload was 5 experimental satellites, and of course, I will let you know when we have more information from SpaceOne. Stéphane Israël has been at the helm of Arianespace since 2017. He has overseen the restructure of Ariane project with the separation of Arianespace as a subsidiary of the newly created Ariane Group. He has brought an increased launch cadence until the delays from Ariane Group and his Ariane 6 or Avio and his Vega C. ESA has now signed an agreement with Avio to increase the production rate of his Vega C and to continue his development on the Vega E, which will increase the launch rate from 2025. Stefan did not say why or where he was going. His replacement has also been nominated. David Cavaillolès, 36-year-old, graduated from École Polytechnique in 2008 and INSAE in 2012, will replace Stefan as CEO of Arianespace. He has held some positions in the government as ministerial advisor for French space policy in 2017 and joined Capgemini in 2019. His background is more financial, and we will see what are the major changes he will bring. December 13th, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 for his Starlink mission Group 11-2 from California. The first stage flew for his 9th time and landed on a drone ship. December 16th, CASC launched a Long March 5B from China for his mission SatNet LEO Group 1 to build a LEO mega constellation of 13,000 satellites. This was the maiden flight of this rocket. Later on, CASC launched another Long March 2D from China for his mission PISAT 2912. December 17th, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 from Florida for his RRT-1 mission. The first stage flew for his 4th time and landed on a drone ship. On the same day, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 from California for his mission NROL 149. The first stage flew for his 22nd time and landed on a drone ship. The last launch that day was that of SpaceX from Florida for his Falcon 9 and his mission O3b mPOWER 7 and 8. The first stage flew for the first time and landed on a drone ship. December 18th, SpaceOne launched from Japan his Kairos rocket for his second flight test after the first one failed back in March 2024. Unfortunately, this one failed too. December 19th, Galactic Energy launched a Cirrus 1S from Chinese waters for his mission Tianqi 3336. In summary, from January 1st until December 19th, 2024, 252 rockets were launched successfully. Out of that, 153 were from an American company or institution, 65 from China, and 5 from Japan. I leave you this week with an image from Jeff Horn and Drew Evans of the Heart Nebula, catalogued as IC 1805, on the top left corner, because apparently it has a heart shape. It's located about 7.5 thousand light years away from us, towards the constellation of Cassiopeia. On the bottom left, we can see a remnant of a supernova, meaning that a star died and subsequently exploded, and what you see is the aftermath. On the right-hand side, there are several planetary nebula. So for our astro newbies, a planetary nebula is a nebula or an interstellar cloud of dust, which is generally born from the dust of a planet's top layer. In other words, it's about a couple of light years in diameter, as opposed to 10 to 100 light years across for a nebula. The red carpet is caused by hydrogen elements. You can, however, see some sulfur elements in yellow and oxygen in blue. In the center of the Heart Nebula are young stars from the open star cluster Melot 15. It took Jeff and Drew 57 nights to produce such a beautiful and clear picture, so a big thanks to them for sharing this incredible picture with us. I'm Christophe Paget for All About Space. See you at the next episode of Space News.